They've lost in court, and many are being arrested. But the Friends of Strathcona refuse to quit. Meet Canada's game show queen. She's turned a talent for TV games into a lucrative part-time job. And the quest for gold continues. Lori Fung looks to repeat her success from 1984. The News Hour with Tony Parsons.
Good evening. And just when it appeared that the environmentalists were winning, that the government was backing down a little, along comes the double whammy. The Friends of Strathcona Park have lost both in the courtroom and in the park itself since this time last night. In the area of the park where the environmentalists have been protesting the test drilling by Cream Silver Mine, 18 people have been arrested. That brings to 31 the total number arrested since this battle began. More about that in a moment. But our report begins with the most recent defeat in Vancouver.
This morning, Friends of Strathcona come to BC Supreme Court hoping to get the court on their side for a change, overturning Cream Silver's injunction against their protest. But they could be skating on thin ice. I think your arguments are going to be a little bit more difficult given that the injunction would appear to be to the court consistently violated?
I have no idea. I don't know. I hope not. I hope not.
Less than 24 hours before, a burgeoning protest group, now numbering about 80, marches into the drill site. The protesters are reinforced by the revelation the provincial government has actually given $60,000 to Cream Silver to fund the drilling they hate. They surround the drill site fence. Soon some are inside of it, and it may not last for long.
Excuse me.
The protesters chant and wallow in the mud, along with the fence, the employees-only sign, and a copy of the injunction. With so many here, Cream Silver Security calls for help. Perhaps it was intentional. After nearly 8 hours in the rain and mud, the horsemen and women arrive for the finale.
You will be arrested under Section 387, Sub 1, Sub D of the Criminal Code of Canada, which is committing mischief by wilfully obstructing the lawful use of property. Park property. Okay? Public.
Get up. Well, stand up, please. You can help?
Watch the step.
In the end, this is the largest number ever to risk criminal records, 18 to be charged with mischief, taken to court in Campbell River. And this afternoon in Vancouver Supreme Court, those protesters who were not arrested have had their say, although they feel they were cut off, and in the end they fared not much better than those back at the drill site. Inside, the Friends of Strathcona argued the injunction to stop their protest should not have been granted without them being present in court. Such one-sided or ex parte injunctions are supposed to be rare, granted only when there's evidence of immediate irreparable harm being done. The Friends said that Cream Silver's affidavit supporting such immediate irreparable harm was wrong. They pointed out that Cream's drilling, according to the company affidavit, was supposed to end on March 18th. Yet the company's drilling permit allows it to continue until the 30th of June. Therefore, the Friends claimed there was no evidence of immediate irreparable harm. If anything, there was evidence of a 3.5-month-long buffer period. They said that the drilling easily could have been stopped for a few days then, so that they could argue against the injunction. Mr. Justice Meredith said he understood their point, but he was sure that the judge who granted the original one-sided injunction must have had good reasons, and that he hadn't heard sufficient grounds to overturn it. So the Friends lost their injunction case. But the judge said, and the Friends agreed, that in their view, it is actually the government which issued the drilling permit and not Cream Silver which is attacking the environment. Offering them a little free legal advice, Justice Meredith said, "You should, in some way, be attacking the government."
Native Indians today blocked an access road to stop logging on some of the 57,000 square kilometers of land in northwestern BC, which they claim as their own. It is part of the largest land claim suit in BC history. The logging road east of Terrace was blocked by natives from the village of Kitwangar. Then 3 trucks and a van were turned back. The BC Supreme Court trial to determine ownership of the disputed territory began last year, and a decision isn't expected until next year. Another vexing problem faces interior lumber producers this winter. Though the lumber market is riding high these days, the companies are worried about a recent boost in stumpage charges. That's the price they pay the province for the wood they cut. Stumpage rates were raised in response to pressure from U.S. lumber producers who claim that Canadian politicians were practically giving away wood to our forest companies. The lumber producers now say that a decline in prices could eventually combine with sky-high stumpage to force layoffs. The IWA is rallying to their support. The Premier says the government is aware of the problem, but he won't make any promises.
Interior mills across the province are busy this winter. Lumber prices are good. Lots of chips are being produced. But the raw material for this production, the wood, is costing the mills a lot more. And that's because last fall, responding to American pressure, the BC Forest Minister raised stumpage, which is the technical term for the provincial charge for the wood.
To ensure that British Columbians get a fair dollar return from our forest resource, we are making fundamental changes in our forest management policy.
What those changes have meant is that BC forest companies, which were paying only $215 million 3 years ago to the government for their wood this year, have to pay $680 million. And when new reforestation costs are added, their bill totals $800 million, nearly a 4-fold increase in 4 years. Mills in towns like Cornell say they're beginning to feel the pinch and fear they'll be in real jeopardy when U.S. housing starts to turn down, as they will.
Unless something changes, eventually mills will shut down. And of course, the classic question is, well, you haven't shut down today, so you don't have a problem. Now, of course, mills are business people, and you do today what costs you the least. And therefore, it's like basically cutting a finger off. You start bleeding, but you don't die until a month or 2 months or 6 months from now.
It doesn't work because it's one of the Premier's quick fixes. We have producers who were paying $2 or $3 per cubic meter for wood, now paying $17 and $18 per cubic meter for wood, which is 6 or 7% or 800% increase in stumpage, and you can't handle that much, especially if the market softens up.
I can't promise any reduction. I can't promise anything. I can only promise that we try and be fair, but we want a fair share.
Now, output is strong, cash flows are healthy, workers are employed. But the forest industry and its biggest union worries that unless the stumpage system is changed, the next downturn will be a severe one.
By September, there should be no hungry children in Vancouver schools. That is, if the school board is able to raise the money to feed them. The obstacle to that fundraising was removed this afternoon when the provincial government said the school board could apply for federal money. The school board says it is happy about that, even though it's only half a victory.
Most kids are happy and well fed. The problem is the province does not want to pay to feed the estimated 700 who are not without knowing who they are. Now there is a way out.
There's a program available apparently under CAP where the federal government can work with a municipality to receive CAP funding, but they need the provincial government's endorsement. And I've said all along, we will not stand in the way of the Vancouver School Board or the City of Vancouver entering such a program.
In the politics of jumping issues, that means the provincial government will now allow the school board to ask someone else for the money. the federal government in this case. The catch is the federal government requires the school board raise half the money itself. All this because the school board will not tell who the hungry kids are.
We're dealing with a very difficult situation and a very sensitive issue.
He said the identity of the hungry kids is closely guarded and will remain that way. Only their teachers know who they are, because he said even at their young age, they're embarrassed by not having anything to eat.
Edmonton Oilers in town tonight to meet the Canucks, John.
Yeah, unfortunately, but the Canucks do have perfect attendance, so they'll be there, and we will too. We'll have highlights a little later for you on late sports, but we'll tell you what's going to happen more about it on our early edition of sports. The BC Lions were back in the community again today. Jody McGill has that report, and we'll tell you that Richard Zokol is right now a co-leader of a golf tournament. Those stories and more later.
Nothing about Fiji's one-man entry in the Olympics? Gosh, that's a big, big story.
Fiji has a one-man entry?
Fiji has, I don't know what this category is, but he's here.
Attendance, I told you.
Yes, sorry.
Carry on with the weather.
It's going to carry on just the way it has been. Mild, moist air. It's coming at us all the way from Hawaii, and it's even influenced the Olympic corridor. Temperatures in Calgary today up around +8 degrees, and there's a Chinook wind melting the snow.
And we'll have more news after this break.
Scratch it any time. When you got winning on your mind. That's right. Scratch and match for thousands of dollars in instant cash prizes. Woo-hoo! Did-did-da-da-da. When you scratch it, you can win it right away. Did-did-da-da-da.
Oh, shredded wheat, serve it hot for a tasty treat. Hot? Sure, you just pour hot water over Nabisco shredded wheat for a soft whole wheat breakfast treat. My brother liked to drown his shredded wheat.
Tonight,
They fired her for being overweight.
I'm not offensive.
two active fans, Kelsey and Markowitz, clash.
Come on, now, for once in your life, stop pushing me, okay?
What makes this different?
Unique. L.A. Law.
Gentlemen, ladies, you have before you the new sale price for our DQ home-style single burger with lettuce and tomato.
That's low. That's very low. That's really low.
Can we do this?
That's incredible.
The Dairy Queen Homestyle Single Burger with lettuce and tomato. On sale now for just 99 cents.
From Touchstone Pictures, Adrian Cronauer is not just another DJ in Vietnam. To the soldiers, he's a hero.
Where are you from? Cleveland, man. Obviously, Vietnam's not that much of a change for you.
To the Vietnamese, he's a friend.
Slip me some skin.
To his superiors, he's a problem.
What's he going to be like when he's 10 times as popular?
Robin Williams is Adrian Cronauer
Big dogs landing on my face.
in a Barry Levinson film, Good Morning Vietnam.
Now playing at Famous Players and other theaters. Check newspapers for showtimes.
In Alberta, the 3-week-long nurses' strike is just a shout away from being settled tonight. Negotiators for both sides have agreed on a package of improved wages and benefits, and a new round of talks has begun on an extensive list of back-to-work conditions. The nurses have given the hospitals 10 conditions, one being that all court action and fines against the nurses and their union be dropped. Canada's two biggest postal unions have been ordered to join forces, and while one likes it, the other doesn't. The Labor Relations Board has ordered the Inside Workers Union to merge with the Letter Carriers Union. CUPW says this will make the union stronger. The letter carriers leader, Bob McGarry, says the ruling sounds like it was written by Canada Post. The latest Gallup poll has the federal Liberals rubbing their hands in glee. The poll suggests the Mulroney government dropped again in public favor during the recent Marcel Masse and Michel Cote scandals. That leaves the Liberals still clearly in the lead with 41%, up a substantial 5% from the last poll. The NDP is holding steady at 31%, and the scandal-plagued Tories are down 3 points to 27%. The Liberals are saying that Canadians can simply no longer tolerate the Tory style, and the NDP is predicting The next election will be the tightest three-way race ever. And there is more bad news for the Tories tonight. Damaging testimony at the trial of former Tory Cabinet Minister Andre Bissonnette has shown some major profit-taking. During the land deals that got Bissonnette in trouble, his business partner made term deposits totaling more than $900,000. And Bissonnette himself had net earnings of more than $1.8 million that same year, 1986, double his income of the previous year. Bissonnette and his partner are charged with conspiracy, fraud, and breach of trust after a series of land flips tripled the price of a plot of land in Bissonnette's Quebec riding. We offer a case tonight at the other end of the income spectrum. A disabled woman who lives in her station wagon with 2 dogs and a cat in Maple Ridge because she has been unable to find affordable housing. Dorothy Bruce gets $573 a month from a disability pension, her only source of income. She says she was evicted from the last of a series of houses because the owner wanted to move someone else in. The 43-year-old woman says she feels more secure living on 4 wheels than between 4 walls in housing she can't really afford and ultimately has to leave.
Maple Ridge Park is located in BC's fastest-growing municipality. By contrast, this car is now home to a woman who has lived all her life in Maple Ridge. Dorothy Bruce has hunted for affordable accommodation without success. For a month, she has shared her car with her 2 dogs and a cat, and she believes she's better off than living in a slum.
I mean, this is all I have. I figure I'm awfully lucky when I'm sitting in this car like I was all last night. And it's pouring rain outside, and we're all warm and cuddly and cozy in here with everything you could want. I've got something to read. I've got everything except the television, which I miss. But I just think we're exceptionally lucky when you think of people living on the streets and cardboard boxes. And I can go and park and listen to my country gospel every Sunday night and relax for 2 or 3 hours with that. I mean, I'm not saying that it's better than having a home, but it's better than the insecurity. The police might be able to say to me, move, that I'm breaking the law of some sort. But they can't throw me out of my car. They can't take away the things that I have in my car. I'm safe. You don't understand how paranoid you get after a while.
Dorothy Bruce didn't live in this comfortable house. She rented a converted garage off to the side for $300 a month plus utilities. She says it was cold and crawling with spiders and slugs. She was evicted after the owner cut off the hydro, saying he needed the unit for relatives.
It is so terrible. You move in, you unpack, you've been promised that you can stay for almost forever. As long as you follow your promises and pay your rent on time. And you wake up and there's an eviction notice on your door. You never know. They never tell you that the place is being foreclosed on. They never tell you that the backyard is full of raw sewage. They never tell you that they're going to sell the property and develop it and make more subdivisions for people that are well off.
The new home explosion in Maple Ridge has become a contrast in housing styles, with older parts of the community where utility triumphs over style. The explosive growth has triggered a rental crisis with rapidly escalating rental costs. Dorothy Bruce spends much of her day in the senior citizens complex visiting her mother.
If she goes out in the evening and says, well, I'm going to take the dogs out and then I'll be back tomorrow, and sometimes I don't hear from her, I often wait for a phone call from the police to tell me that they've found her dead. That's just the situation.
Dorothy Bruce suffers from lupus, a disabling blood disorder that manifests itself in sores, arthritis, and the constant threat of pneumonia. Her animals are her only joy in life.
In the beginning, I thought it would be advisable for her to get rid of them. And I love them myself, and they love me. And when I realized what they meant to her, I would never suggest that she get rid of them.
I guess in this case, they're all your daughter has outside of you.
That's right. She has sacrificed everything. She's given up everything. And she has nothing else to look forward to in life.
I guess in this case, the animals are tremendously therapeutic.
I would say so.
Without the dogs, I would be dead because I have to get up and feed them. I have to let them out. Given the great amount of comfort and companionship and love, and also safety, considering the places where I've lived, I'd have been absolutely terrified. I think I would have left.
Have you concerns that this woman is basically living in her car because she says she cannot afford housing in the municipality?
Well, I'm concerned that anybody would be living in their car and not being able to afford, reasonable housing.
She claims to have seen her social worker and talked to her MLA, and they basically say, well, call us when you find accommodation.
Well,
is that satisfactory to you as an alderman in this municipality?
No, certainly it isn't. I think that in a case like this, where somebody's living in their car, that somebody needs to make a little bit more of an effort, and those people that are dealing directly with her, specifically social services and housing, I think they can expend a little bit more effort in giving her some assistance in finding accommodation.
A supervisor with the Ministry of Social Services and Housing Office in Maple Ridge says they don't find accommodation for people. They only assist in the payment for accommodation. She says there is a very tight housing market in Maple Ridge, and she suggests room and board may be the answer in this case, but she was unable to comment on the specifics in the case of Dorothy Bruce. Dorothy Bruce is now spending her rent money keeping her old car serviceable because it's her home.
Right here is where almost half of all traffic accidents happen, at an intersection. And in more than 85% of the cases, the cause is driver error. Texaco believes the best way to stop this is better drivers. So starting now, Texaco will arrange for a 10% reduction in the cost of a young driver's of Canada course. It's all here in our free driver training kit. Pick up yours soon, or call our toll-free number. Please, let a professional teach them to drive and survive.
Introducing Downy Sheets. At last, Downy Sheets. A whole new way to tumble in softness, plus the April freshness you can only get from Downy. Your family will love it. Who'd have thought you could get this much softness in a handy dryer sheet? New Downy Sheets. Now you can tumble in April fresh softness like never before. Tumble in softness. New Downy Sheets. Tumble in.
Real estate agent who understands what you're going through, who understands what you're looking for, who understands success is more than just another sign on the wall. Talk to a Montreal Trust agent. Montreal Trust, Real Estate and Mortgages. We make you feel more at home.
In London, England, a middle-aged man named John MacDonald is $2 million richer tonight. He won the famous Littlewood football pool. Nothing too remarkable about that until you consider where MacDonald has been sleeping for the past several years, and that's on a park bench. MacDonald was destitute, collecting $40 a week from welfare, living the nomadic life on Skid Road. Now that he's a multi-millionaire, he says he will share the money with a friend. That 67-year-old friend accompanied MacDonald today when he went to pick up his winnings, and that's when the real miracle became apparent. It turns out that the two men, well scrubbed to receive their check, had picked the winner of not just one soccer game, but of 8 different games. The odds against them were 1,000,000 to 1. What do they plan to do now? They're going to buy a boat and go fishing. She is a most unusual success story, a Vancouverite who, through her television appearances, has been seen in tens of millions of North American homes. In the space of a single day, she has made more than $50,000. Although she has something in common with Vanna White, she is not a model. In October, she'll be going back to the glitter of Los Angeles to do what she does best. In the meantime, she'll be researching and perhaps marking a few papers. But she'll still find time for reading and the odd excursion to the high-tension world of a certain type of daytime TV, 2,000 miles and a world away from Vancouver.
Amid the clutter of her Granville area apartment, Barbara Ann Eddy is marking college essays. Of her numerous part-time jobs, this is one which makes use of her encyclopedic knowledge of literature. But she has another part-time job which also taxes her talents, and it pays rather well.
This is Jeopardy!
What is James Harriet? That is right. She bet $1,300. She winds up with $12,600 today, and this lady knows her math because she has a 5-day total of $52,000. Congratulations, Barbara. We'll look for you in our Tournament of Champions. You are the 5th 5-time undefeated player so far this season.
I thought I would enjoy myself when I went down for the taping of Jeopardy. Only in, I think, the very back of my mind did I have any conception that I was going to be a 5-time champion. But when I phoned back here to my family and friends, they said, gee, we knew you were going to do that. And I found that somewhat exasperating because that was more than I knew.
She's been on 9 or 10 quiz shows, but after winning the $128,000 question, the international edition of Mastermind, the tough British show, left her tied for second. Name That Tune was just a $300 note. Shakespeare is her area of concentrated expertise, but she reads almanacs, reference books, almost anything with facts. And she knows how to absorb them. She says the only thing she has trouble with is names.
I've just been interested in accumulating knowledge, not for any sort of ulterior motive, but simply because I enjoy picking these things up. And, well, don't you know, sort of dropping them into casual conversation. That's, or when playing Trivial Pursuit or something of this kind. So I'm happy about the trivia explosion. It just means there are more things I can pick up.
7-letter cities for 300, please.
The name of this Scottish city, third largest in Great Britain, is said to be from the Celtic for dear green spot. Barbara Ann.
What is Glasgow?
That's it.
Also, the ability not to get too flappy in situations where nervousness would not be productive.
Kipling said, you'll be a man if you can keep this when all about you are losing theirs. Cynthia.
What are wits?
No, sorry. Barbara Ann.
What is your head?
Your head. Keep your head, yes.
The best training is actually by watching the show and by shouting the answers back at the screen, because that gets you into the milieu of the show. It starts you thinking in the way in which the people writing the questions would be thinking, and that's something I've always tried to do, think like a question setter.
Doing that, she's learned a lot, won repeatedly, and had a fair bit of fun.
How much again? 3,200.
Congratulations.
Gee, covered airfare anyway.
Barbara Ann's done more than that. She's won about $200,000 playing quiz shows. But networks limit contestants to 1 appearance per year, so she must do other work.
I like to keep myself free for research jobs, not just to loaf, although loafing is something I enjoy doing. There seem to be sort of periods of feverish activity punctuated by periods of not very much going on. And that seems to suit me. I will do it until I don't want to do it anymore, and then we'll decide where to go from there.
The food bank will continue to benefit from her talents as it has for nearly the past 5 years. But in October, she'll take a break from volunteering and try the Jeopardy Tournament of Champions and see if she has the wits and luck to win $100,000.
The Bank of Canada rate today fell to its lowest level in 3 months, down to 8.49%. The dollar, meantime, has resumed its climb against American currency. It gained a quarter cent on the day, closing at 79.15 cents U.S. That's its highest level in over 4 years. BRIC, the BC Resources Investment Corporation, reports heavy losses. It ended this past year $307 million in the red, and that's twice as large a loss as BRIC recorded in the previous year.
to Europe.
Jeff Daniels, Mia Farrow, in Purple Rose of Cairo. Madonna, desperately seeking Susan. Geraldine Page, Cryptopunk, The Man from Snowy River, all coming here starting Sunday.
Today's your day, my little girl. And this was your grandmother's.
Very pretty.
And very precious.
I know.
And loves will protect it.
But it's thin. Wouldn't a thick diaper?
Stop leaks better? Look.
Loves holds wetness safely inside.
No, wait.
Go ahead.
It didn't leak.
And Love's snug waistband helps stop leaks here, too. So when you want to protect what's most precious, trust Love.
Are you happy with your wash?
Looks good to me.
What about close-up? Look, your bargain detergent is short-changing you on close-up clean.
You're not going to tell me there's a difference.
All temperature cheer is different. Watch. Over time, bargain detergents let dirt build up. But with cheer, the shirt stays cleaner because cheer has 40% more cleaning ingredients. And now,
Looks and smells really clean.
cheer for clothes that look and smell cleaner, even close-up.
Head and shoulders. I didn't know you had dandruff.
I don't.
Chances are you'll never see dandruff on someone who uses Head and Shoulders regularly.
Head and Shoulders?
I didn't know you had dandruff. I don't.
Because Head and Shoulders worries about your dandruff, so you don't have to.
Head and Shoulders? I didn't know you had dandruff. I don't.
So don't have dandruff. Have great-looking hair. World class to Europe and return with flying colors.
Now, tonight's weather details. Here's Norm.
Thanks, Tony. I missed Ida Gaylord's birthday yesterday. It's kind of special because she was 107. So, Ida Gaylord of Burnaby, all the best to you. Now, what I wanted to show you on the satellite photo is that we have this conveyor belt here that starts in Hawaii and goes all the way up to our British Columbia coast, and that's the conveyor belt upon which all this mild, moist air is coming in. It's creating quite a lot of difficult situations in BC. First of all, there is a heavy rain warning for the northwest end of Vancouver Island, and from there northward on the coastal sections. Up to 150 millimeters, call that 6 inches of rain, is expected in the next 24 hours. And somewhere between 10 and 20 centimeters of snow called for the interior, and that could be anywhere from Prince Rupert east to Prince George, and then from Prince George east up to the Alberta border. The Department of Highways has advised that road closures and delays are in effect east of Revelstoke, in the Three Valley Gap area, the Pine Pass route between Prince George and Dawson Creek. So if you're heading that way by car, by all means, please check with the Department of Highways or the RCMP before you go east in British Columbia. And just for interest's sake, spotting a few locations in eastern Canada around Bay Como and Sept-Îles. I don't know why I choose those places, but I do. They're expecting snow with overnight lows of minus 26. And here we are going golfing tomorrow. I don't understand it. In Toronto this afternoon, minus 7. Snow is on the way. The remaining cool air is concentrating in southern Manitoba and southern Saskatchewan, although temperatures have risen for about 10 degrees in the last 24 hours. In southern Alberta, it looks a little bit dicey for the opening of the Olympics. Some of the fears have come true. Not only Chinook mild weather, highs of 9 around Calgary, Lethbridge, and Medicine Hat, Olympic corridor, but the winds are picking up to 50 kilometers an hour, and that's what's melting the snow. We'll keep you and the rest of the BCTV crew posted. There is a large ridge of high, and it's centered in Utah, and the northern end of it is just cuts through Juan de Fuca. Otherwise, our weather is going to be dominated by this large, warm low here. As I mentioned, it's being generated all the way from Hawaii. Did you detect the pineapple juice in the rain today? Well, that's it, you see. This is carrying heavy rain for the central and north coast, basically from the north end of Vancouver Island northward. And as far as temperatures go, we had the warmest in the country today at Lytton, 13 degrees, and it looks like we're going to go through the weekend with this mild, moist air. The freezing level around Vancouver is 2,500 meters. The emphasis is on cloudy skies and rain. In Whitehorse, the first recording area, or they're talking about a chance of light snow. Sunny periods tomorrow afternoon and overnight lows down to about minus 18, maybe even minus 22 in Centerville and Watson Lake. For the Peace River country, occasional light snow, but very mild compared to the beginning of the week, minus 3 and plus 2. For the Caribou in the interior, intermittent rain or snow, heavier snow and freezing rain west of Prince George because daytime highs are up around 5, overnight lows 0 for the north coast. Rain mixed with snow, snow inland, windy on the coast, a 90 to 100% chance of precipitation, and mild. Thompson, Okanagan, West Kootenays, snow in the northern Thompson area, 10 to 20 centimeters. Spotty precipitation in the south. East Kootenays, cloud with sunny breaks, 30% chance of precip. For the southwest corner of BC, mainly cloudy, showers of rain, which will be heavier at times, remaining very mild not only tonight and tomorrow, but into the weekend as well from all of that system coming up from Hawaii. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Norm. Another strong earthquake jolted Southern California today, shaking buildings in downtown Los Angeles and causing at least 12 minor injuries. The quake measured 5 on the Richter scale, nearly 1 point lower than the quake last October, which killed 7 people in the Los Angeles area and caused $350 million damage. There was very little damage this time. It is now estimated that 72,000 gallons of oil have spilled from that sunken barge east of Victoria. That's twice as much as the original figure. The new estimate is based on the discovery by divers that a second compartment of the barge is ruptured. The bunker sea fuel is sinking to the bottom and then drifting with the tides. Recovery gear, a platform and crane, was moved into position today. It will attempt to pull the barge to the surface after a series of cables are secured. Its rental price is $1,000 an hour. It will be there until sometime next week. The bill will be sent to the owner of the sunken vessel. In the meantime, the watch continues for oil coming to the surface. So far, only a thin sheen has been spotted, and it dissipated quickly on its own. The diving crew is scheduled to go out at midnight tonight when tides are at their weakest. Their task is to burrow trenches under the barge through which the cables can be threaded. 9 years ago today, supporters of the Ayatollah Khomeini overthrew the Shah of Iran, ending the 2,500-year-old Persian monarchy. And the anniversary celebrations in Iran today took many forms, including the bombing of a Norwegian supertanker in the Persian Gulf. The 290,000-ton Happy Carry was fully loaded with oil from Kuwait when Iranian gunboats struck and set it afire. The supertanker sent out distress calls, which went unanswered at first. Although 5 nations have warships in the area, they only protect their own tankers. Salvage tugs eventually put out the blaze after a 4-hour fight. The Happy Carry had just re-entered the Gulf after spending 3 weeks undergoing repairs. It was on its first voyage since being hit by Iranian gunboats 2 months ago. One of the unofficial wonders of the world is falling to pieces. It is the huge Sphinx, which sits on Egypt's Giza Plateau near the famed pyramids. The limestone statue is the oldest and the largest of its kind, 20 meters high and 50 meters long. It has the body of a crouching lion and the face of a pharaoh, and it's more than 4,000 years old. But this week, a fierce sandstorm battered the Sphinx and the pyramids, and a huge chunk of the statue's shoulder simply crumbled away. The Egyptian government is studying the Sphinx now to discover how to save it.
If you're looking for an RRSP, then look to the Bank of British Columbia. The Bank of BC offers you the highest interest rates on fixed-term redeemable RRSPs, higher than Canada's largest national banks, higher than Canada's major trust companies. The highest interest rates plus the complete flexibility of early redemption. The Bank of British Columbia has what you want most in an RRSP. Highest interest rates and greatest flexibility. Come in and talk with us.
It's a famous name. Pizza famous. That's wonderful food right to your door. And pizza you adore. We soon became the biggest cause we know you want the best. In 2 for 1, Pizza Fun, put our flavor to the test. Cause we got the faith. We got the faith. In our food. Yes, in our food. We bring it on home. Yeah. Bring it on home to you. And a couple of
Woodward Showcase is a weekly publication that's attracting a lot of attention and curiosity. Because every showcase brings the very latest news and values from Woodward's. Sale events, fashion statements, ideas for the home, great buys for the whole family, and more. All year round, you'll find all that's best in the weekly Woodward Showcase.
Woodward's, look at us now.
A smile and a laugh. A helping hand. A shoulder to cry on. In good times and hard times, they had each other. Jack Nicholson, Meryl Streep, Ironweed.
Starts Friday at select theaters. Check newspapers for showtimes.
Tonight, another in our series of The Olympic Mind, The Olympic Heart. In our profile of heroes past, we feature one definitely living in the present. When we think of rhythmic gymnastics, we think of Lori Fung. The Vancouver woman's name has been synonymous with the sport ever since she took the gold at the '84 Olympics in Los Angeles.
She's 24 now, and she has to work longer and harder than the girls half her age who practice alongside her. But Lori Fung has maturity and experience, and she's not ready to quit.
I know a lot of girls who started very, very young, and after 10, 12 years of their career, they're only 18, 19 years old, and they're ready to retire, and to me, that's crazy.
Lori's career started late for an athlete. At 14, she took up the new sport of rhythmic gymnastics. Long before it was an Olympic event, she told people she was going to the Summer Games.
I remember walking out on the floor, and I just felt like everything was standing still. And as I went into this movement coming up, I felt a little shaky. And
6 years later, she was competing in Los Angeles. Rhythmic gymnastics was featured for the first time. The race for the gold was down to the wire, but it was this performance that clinched it for her.
From here on, it went really smooth. I don't even remember thinking, okay, I want to go and I have to win, or I want to go and I can win. I remember just saying, I'm going to go and I'm ready for it, I'm going to do it. There's one difficult element coming up.
Lori didn't realize it, but the Romanian girl in the lead had faltered, and she had catapulted to number one.
Right here, when I got this move, I knew that I was on my way. I was surprised because I didn't watch any of my scores on the final, and so all I did was just did my routines, finished all four, and I was ecstatic just to finish the Olympics and have done really well, and you know, I didn't disgrace myself, and I went to the back, packed up my bag, you know, thinking we're going back to the residence, and someone came up and said, well, you did it, you won, and I was just like, I couldn't believe it.
Hearing the national anthem was an emotional moment for Lori. She had left Vancouver a virtual unknown, but returned home to a champion's reception. Lori was stunned by the welcome.
I came home and sort of everything changed. All of a sudden, you know, people wanted me for appearances, and people wanted me for public speaking, and to travel here and to travel there. And then my time was, you know, all of a sudden I realized I had a lot of things to meet up to, and so I started training harder. And it's sort of like a big snowball, you know, everything just sort of took off.
Now she has better gym time, coaches, and equipment, the trappings of success. But the Russians and Bulgarians will be at these Olympics, so she can't let up.
Good. Strong finish. Good. If you keep that up, you know, because you're up and then the rope coming in, then it sets you up.
You're never ready. You're never completely there. People say, well, you got a 10 last year at Nationals, so what do you have to work on that routine for? But believe me, if I got a 10 last year at Nationals, this year, with the way I feel about my strength and about the way I can do the routine, I hope I'll get a 10.5, but I don't think that's possible. At the time, for me, the routine was worth a 10, but I see the difference. I see that I can improve, and as long as I see that in the future, an improvement, I'm going to keep going and keep trying.
She practices oblivious of distractions, good training for competition. Her routine is fluid, her moves erotic.
6 o'clock in the morning, it's hard to be sensual to a blank, a gym and a whole bunch of empty bleachers. But it's easier at a competition because before I go on, I can look out at the audience and I can see somebody there and I can say, okay, this is the person that I'm going to grab through this routine and pull that person out onto the floor. And those people will come up to me at the end of the competition going, oh, I just had shivers when you went my spine. And that's what we want. We want people to subconsciously walk out of the gym humming my music.
Good, good.
When she said she needed a car, the vitamin company she represents leased her a Porsche. Her new agent in Los Angeles is using her gold medal to introduce her to the American market, where winning translates into financial rewards to sell her routine, now familiar to British Columbians. She wants to continue performing before audiences, and she's paid for it, but she's an amateur, so as in the case of endorsements, most of her earnings go into a trust fund for the future.
Maybe some things I do have are quite extravagant, and but I don't try to go around and flaunt it, and I feel I've worked hard for it, and I'm working hard for the sponsors. And I'm just really fortunate, and I'm not saying that I'm going out there saying, I deserve this, I deserve that. I'm really lucky, and I'm so thankful for it. Good girl. Good, Laura.
Lori tells young girls starting out they've got to do it for themselves and be committed. She's carefully deciding what to do when she retires, because she won't hold back.
All right. Well, that was good. You do those kind of routines at provincials, you're not going to have any problem. Whatever I choose to do, I'll do it the same way I did with gymnastics. It's going to engulf my entire life, everything. I'm going to do it until it's perfect.
In a world where prices always seem to be going up, the average cost of calling overseas has just gone down. You can stretch your overseas calling dollar with rates reduced by as much as 1/3, and new discount rates are available to most countries 7 days a week. Staying in touch has never been more affordable. For details on rates to 150 countries, call 1-800-561-9222 for your free rate card.
There's a full moon in the Kootenays tonight. Our chance to observe the nocturnal activities of the Sasquatch. I think I hear him now. Wow, nice thread. What's the occasion?
Oh, hi, Bob. Oh, a mating season. Moonlight music, cool Chris Kokanee. Get the picture?
Hey, do you mind if we watch, or is that okay?
Oh, no, Bob. Nobody watches the master at work. Check out Mr. Squirrel.
Mr. Squirrel, great.
Kokanee beer from the Columbia Brewing Company. Brewed right in the Kootenays.
I'm ready.
Yo, my little mugwump. Oh, hey, no cameras.
A couple of thoughts at RRSP time. The banks can offer you a 7, maybe 8% return on your money this year. You should expect a 15, even an 18% return. Get some investment advice now instead of waiting for the deadline. Chances are excellent that your money will work harder for you. The most important tip? Great Pacific Management has been planning RRSPs and mutual fund investment for 21 years. Call 1-800-663-7544 for the office nearest you. Great Pacific Management.
Now the sports news on tonight's News Hour. Here's John. Thank you, Tony. So to take a more positive approach to the Canucks' horrendous streak of 24 games with no wins versus Edmonton, that's 22 losses and 2 ties, let me suggest they've got 1 win in their last 25. The man who got it in goal for them, however, won't have his status clarified until GM Pat Quinn returns home tomorrow. He's going to try one last shot tonight at trading Richard Brodeur before having to send him to the minors. Pittsburgh did that today with Pat Riggins, so count the Penguins out. Thanks to the emergence of Frank Pietrangelo with Joe Meloche backing up. A player move was made in our town today, though, as Edmonton sent left winger Scott Metcalf to Buffalo for defenseman Steve Dykstra. The Lensators' most recent significant deal, though, was dealing with Minnesota. He was discerned in a hurry that Mo Mantha is a clubhouse lawyer and a cancer is the last thing Edmonton needs in their room. Thinking he died and gone to heaven, ex-Montreal Canadian Keith Acton went to the Norris Division from the basement to the league's penthouse. Not only has Sather told him to become more offensive-minded than with the North Stars, Acton has the added bonus of real rivalries to enjoy.
I'm a competitive person, and I like to compete, and to be on a winning team, a team that has a chance, as I mentioned, to win a Stanley Cup is exciting, and it gets your blood flowing, and you look forward to every day.
Just like Montreal relived?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. A lot of people have discussed that, and I can draw a lot of parallels between Edmonton and Montreal. I don't think Edmonton has copied them. They're unique in their own way, but there certainly is a lot of similarity.
Oilers here tonight, 7:30 on CKNW, while Quebec is down in L.A. And the games in progress include the Habs losing 1-0 in Jersey in the second, the Islanders in Toronto, a 3-3 tie in the second, and Washington has blown a 3-0 lead, but they're up by 1 game, 4-3 in the third against the Rangers. Pre-Olympic exhibition hockey today included West Germany upsetting Finland 4-2 in Lethbridge. Tonight, Saskatoon is the site of the Sweden-Canada game. Canada is leading 1-0 late in the first. Last night, also in Saskatoon, it was Dave King's squad versus the Soviets, with all the BC players figuring prominently.
The Canadian squad got the winning goal early in the second period. Ken Berry breaks in on goal. Sergei Milnikov will make the initial save, but Gord Shervin follows up and he scores. Steve Tambellini and former Leaf Ken Yaremchuk also scored for Team Canada. They won it 3-2. The big story was goaltender Andy Moog. Moog turned away 28 shots, and they were quality ones. That gives Canada 2 hot goaltenders heading into Calgary, but Moog has a simple explanation for the way he played last night.
I was horseshoes right up my yin-yang tonight. I think I stopped a couple with my eyes closed, and I think it went off the post twice, and I was just fortunate it didn't fit tonight. This hockey club figured out how to win games over in Izvestia. Now we just have to go about winning them. Tonight's game was quite similar to that game in Izvestia. I mean, we all know they could have went either way with a bounce, and we were just fortunate to come out in the winning end tonight.
On today, the Calgary Stampeders announced their 1987 debt is about twice the $300,000 to $400,000 they originally thought. How could they consider paying Roy DeWalt or anyone $200,000 this coming season? A better question, if Joe Galat or any GM wants to retain CFL rights to players heading south, as well he should, would a commissioner's ruling or gentleman's agreement to that effect not amount to collusion? Speaking of gentlemen, the Leos are being that in the offseason as they promised. Jody McGill has more.
Louie!
The BC linebackers have a different type of game plan in store in the off-season. They are tackling the problem of substance abuse amongst kids in schools. And today they kicked off their campaign, which will be targeted towards students in grades 7 to 9. 12 BC Lion players are involved in the program that will visit schools throughout the province.
We used to go in and try and scare them or just give them information or create some kind of fear. But I think that when kids, I've seen these athletes, I've seen the players do their presentations. I mean, they're very personal. They touch you. They tell a very good story. It's not put together because it is their story, so they're not making it up, and it affects you.
So I think that if we can get one person off a street corner at night and under the dome watching us play football, possibly, or just to think about the potential dangers to themselves, I think we will have done our jobs.
The Vancouver 86ers don't have to make news to get soccer to the fans. Case in point, they're all-important stops in the community.
Ready to go. Here we are. Meet the Vancouver 86ers Travel and Roadshow. Playing coach Bob Lenarduzzi, midfielder Jim Easton, and defender Keith Isaac taking their game to the people, spreading the gospel, selling their sport at the grassroots level. All part of a program sponsored by Safeway and Pepsi as a means of exposing elementary school kids throughout the province to the sport of soccer the way it is played by professionals.
Their arms are out to the side so that they're properly balanced when they kick the ball.
Today, stop Hamilton Elementary in Richmond, the smallest audience they've played in front of thus far, but a captive one just the same. For Lenarduzzi, he's seen it all before, 17 years of pro, most of those in Vancouver, and most of that time spent playing but also promoting the game he's had a lifelong love affair with.
You're going to hit the back of the head instead of the face. I'll go to the top.
He's in charge now, no longer the guinea pig, but certainly a qualified teacher for the tough task. However, his troops take over. Easton showing some heads-up play, and at the other end of the spectrum, the bottom, if you will, there's more than one way to stop a ball.
What's the reaction been? I think, again, you can tell as it's going on now, this is the fewest number of kids we've had, but every school we've been to, the students have been happy with what's gone on, and probably more importantly, the teachers have been very complimentary as well.
I think we had a lot of fun out here. The three fellows from the 86ers have really demonstrated that soccer is a skill game, but it's also an awful lot of fun associated with it.
And how about you guys? You enjoy it?
Oh, we love it. What we're going to do after we finish this interview is get you out there and see how long you can keep the ball up in the air with your head. Will you do that?
We'll see. Discretion being the lesser part of valor, I decided to give it a shot. Easton and Isaac, on the other hand, had much greater success in a fitting finale to a fun-filled afternoon.
It's 82 degrees down in Hawaii, where we've got some golf scores for you, and Richard Zokol is on top of the leaderboard halfway through this opening round. He and Jody Mutter at 66. Ray Stewart finished his round. Dave Barrs 2 over on the back nine. Dan Hallerson 3 over on the front. Jimmy Nelford, just talked to him in Phoenix. He decided to take the week off, but he is going to play in San Diego this coming weekend in L.A. in a couple of weeks. He says he's okay. Tell you that in the LPGA Tour in Sarasota, Lisa Young and Don Coe of Prince Rupert and Lake Cowichan, respectively, are at 74. They're 10 shots behind leader Liselette Newman in the LPGA tournament down in Sarasota, Florida, and Kelly Murray is 4 shots off the lead off the Aussie Tour event down in Melbourne. Tony, that's the sports.
Thank you, John. That's the nice news hour. Good night. Stay tuned as Entertainment Tonight sets the stage for the Winter Olympics in Calgary, hits Disneyland with George Burns at 92, and TV dads solve real-life problems on primetime TV.